very easy to get bogged down by, load shedding and all the problems. It's much easier to, start listing out, all the things that are actually going your way and how lucky you are in so many different ways. And I think just having that inherent optimism keeps you fired up and going, going forward. And I think it's an important thing. I think for young South Africans, that it's that optimism. There is a lot to be optimistic about in South Africa, in the world. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur anywhere in the world. Focus on that. Don't focus on all the things, all the rocks.
So today we're joined Business Unusual podcast with Rob Koen, who's Managing Director of Sub-Saharan, is it Sub-Saharan Africa for Amazon?
Yeah, but my focus at the moment is very much on South Africa. So leading South Africa and the launch of the online store in South Africa.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's a fun job. Actually, someone said to me yesterday, I think you've got the best job in the world. And I agree with him.
Why is that, do you think?
One is just passionate about bringing the Amazon experience to South African shoppers. And that's a privilege. And I think two is, there's a lot that Amazon brings in terms of, we got a big focus on small business, which we can go into, but in helping some of these small businesses get to a much broader customer base by being part of the marketplace. And it's a very varied role. You get to do some really cool stuff, everything from fulfillment centers to last mile delivery to working with great entrepreneurs and vendors. It's exciting. It's fun.
You give me goosebumps now. So, Rob, it's firstly so exciting that Amazon came, and I think it was a couple of years ago that I heard that Amazon were coming, and I had this feeling of optimism and excitement. I was like, wow, the big guns are coming to town. And so I was like, geez, guys, I have to up their game. But also I got that feeling as well about this experience and what can we learn and what does it mean for South Africans? What have your career to get to where you are leading the best job in the world. How did you get there? What's your journey?
Yeah, so originally South African. I'm a Joburg born and bred. And,
I can see.
Love South Africa, very passionately a South African. But I did leave the country some time back, spent a bit of time in the UK and then the majority of the time in the US out of San Francisco. And I think a lot of the journey has just been, I'm a strong believer in any career. And I think if any young South Africans starting out, whether it's an entrepreneurial route or whether it's in a large corporate, is just embracing doing hard things because that's the best driver of learning. And so sometimes we think, I've got to chase the title. I've got to chase the, I've always believed chase the learning.
Yeah.
Go and do hard things. Go and make some moves in your career that everybody else may look at and go like, what is that? And so I've got a fairly varied background in doing varied things. But again, it's always been chasing the learnings. And I think that has made me a lot more valuable to my employer, Amazon.
Yeah.
Where if you've got that experience, you've got that learning, hey, you understand South Africa, you understand what it means to be South African and what South African shoppers want.
Yeah.
Well, not entirely, but I know enough about it. And you understand Amazon, the Amazon culture, and have got that ability to learn rapidly. That makes you attractive for the opportunity. And so, I think that's why I was selected for it.
I've got some great stories about, doing hard things. And I completely agree with you. I had a life-changing event about 2 years ago. But is there anything that stands out for you of those hard things that you did? I know that you did I think it was the newspaper round when you were younger. I don't know how old you were, or was it because you needed money, or because what was the story behind that?
Oh, it was just, I think I grew up in a family that believed in a real strong work ethic, which I think is inherent in a lot of South Africans.
Yeah.
But, you're not going to sit back and wait for mom and dad with the handouts, get out there and go and, earn some money yourself. And so, from very young, probably sort of 11, 12-year-old, hopping on the bike, heading out and grabbing those newspapers. So that was hard, but I think it teaches you that work ethic and what is required. And then I think, even moving continents is hard. It's really, you're building a new network, you're learning new things. The way of doing business is subtly different in each of these countries.
Yeah.
And I've had the privilege to work in more than 30 countries around the world, not live, but work in 30 countries around the world.
Yeah.
And I think each one has its nuances but it's difficult. You've got to be very attuned, very open to the learning and listening very carefully.
Yeah.
But that makes you, I think it makes you a better person, no matter what you want to do.
Yeah, I'd imagine the hard thing is moving countries and doing that, but you also got to take other people along with you. How hard is that in terms of those other relationships? Because if you don't have the right sort of buy-in, then it's going to be hard.
I'm super, super lucky to have a very supportive wife who's looked after our boys and has been, so much part of the ride. So, I think I'm just blessed in that sense and has been part of the journey.
And when you're doubting yourself, because I think as a human nature, we doubt ourselves, we think about the good and the bad. How do you get past that apart from doing hard things? I mean, what is the things that you say to back yourself?
That's a tough one. I think it's, we need to make that time for reflection and just think about where we're at. But one of the things that I've learned, especially being in the US and especially in San Francisco, where there is this entrepreneurial mind and a growth mindset, a learning mindset, is just the importance of an optimistic outlook. It's very easy to get bogged down by load shedding and all the problems. It's much easier to, start listing out, all the things that are actually going your way and how lucky you are in so many different ways. And I think just having that inherent optimism keeps you fired up and going, going forward. And I think it's an important thing. I think for young South Africans, that it's that optimism. There is a lot to be optimistic about in South Africa, in the world. It's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur anywhere in the world. Focus on that. Don't focus on all the things, all the rocks that could get in the way.
So you say it's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. Why do you think that is?
I think it's primarily because of some of these enablers. If you look at Amazon as an organization, more than 60% of the units that we sell globally are actually other businesses selling in the marketplace.
What does that mean? What does that mean when you say that? Because I heard that before, and I think you had to explain it to me a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it basically means that we provide this. It's basically a store where you, as an entrepreneur, you can go and list your products.
Yeah.
We provide a lot of the enablement to help you to sell. So whether it's advertising, promoting your products, how you tell your brand story. We provide a lot of support to those entrepreneurs, Seller University. We actually even have a walk-in center in Cape Town where you can walk in with your whatever you want to sell and learn about how to sell. But, so you as an entrepreneur can focus on the product, focus on making an amazing product that customers love.
Yeah.
And we will handle the warehousing or hold it in our fulfillment centers. When you get an order, we'll pick it, pack it, ship it, make sure that you're doing same day delivery. So it's very much an enabler to help you to, and I think it's become easier and easier because you've got that.
Yeah.
I think the second piece would be, artificial intelligence. There is, you can go, no matter what your favorite tool is, but go and bounce ideas off and go and, get feedback on your idea, your concept, get challenged on what that concept is. It's not perfect, and I think you've got to go in eyes wide open, but it's amazing to build a business plan, build your concept, build your ideas, and then validate it from there.
Yeah.
Makes it easier.
I mean, there's some things in your culture that I've come to realize are really important, is that you listen to the customer. You're very in tune with the customer in terms of the experience, because you spoke about that right at the beginning, the experience. And I think there is this perception that we've got to create great products. But what I see is a lot of great entrepreneurs. I mean, we had John Mullins on last week from London Business School, and his thing was focus on what problem you're solving, and then you create a great product. How does that resonate with Amazon's story?
I think firstly, from an Amazon point of view, it's the only organization that I've worked for that I think is truly customer obsessed. Because there are a lot of organizations in the world that, hey, we're customer obsessed. You say you're customer obsessed, but you suddenly have quarterly pressures or annual pressures, and customer obsession goes out the window. But and I've seen it many, many times where we'd rather walk away from an opportunity than do something that it may be good short term for us, but it's bad for the customer. And every single day we're having to earn the trust of our customer. We're only as good as that last delivery. We're only as good as that last interaction. Yeah. But we obsess about that feedback. I spend a lot of time with the call center associates here in Cape Town, just listening. Okay, what went wrong? What did the customer say? And we have this belief that every single contact that comes into that contact center, we treat it as a defect and troubleshoot that. It's not just, it was only one out of however many. We want to get to, why did they need to call? What could we do better in the app, on the website, with our product, and really and we spend hours and hours obsessing about how do we make it better for that customer.
Yeah.
So super, super critical. And I think coming back to your original point about, from a business, small startup, very often, and I've seen this, more often than not, an entrepreneur starts out with an idea. The idea that they're pursuing 12 months, 2 years down the line is radically different from what they started with.
Yeah.
Because they've been listening, and tweaking and adjusting. And, hey, our customers it's not resonating here. It's not resonating there. It's not really fulfilling the need. Yeah. And we should be okay with that. That's fine, but we've got to listen to our customer. And we, again, spend a lot of time on that.
You said that you're in the call center, and I've seen you doing deliveries as well. You're out there. I'm thinking, everybody's probably thinking he's got this great job he loves, but he's saying he's in the call center and doing deliveries.
But that's the fun part.
Okay.
I really think that's the fun part. It's hearing directly, handing that box over to a customer.
Yeah.
And them to say hey, Rob, just by the way, and usually the question I love to ask. That's why I hate going to these restaurants where they say, hey, is everything okay? And then if you actually have something, then whoa, hold on. Someone's actually not happy. They don't know what to do with that. I'd much rather ask it in a way of, what's the one thing we could do better for you to make that experience better for you? Restaurants should be asking the same thing. What's that one thing I can do better for you to make your experience even better than it is right now? Yeah. And I love doing that because it's, that's what's going to make us better. That's what our customers, we're getting great response from our customers because I think they can see that. They see we listen, and we're working very, very hard to earn their trust every day.
There's so many things here you are, got the best job in South Africa. And so why you? Why Rob? What's Rob bring to the party, or what's his experience, or what's his skills that have made him? And what would you look for the next person who's going to replace you?
Well, I'm never going to live down this best job.
He's got the best job. Everybody knows it, though. Let's be honest.
Oh, I love the job. Look, I think Amazon as a culture, there are certain things that we look for and that I think makes a good Amazon employee. And I think one of the primary things is having that learning mindset. someone, and when we hire, as and I've hired a lot of people at Amazon, but the one thing that I look for is, are they learners? And I'll give you an example. Like we write these papers, we're very big on writing these 6 pages or 2 pages. It can't be more than 6 pages. But
what are these for?
It could be anything. It could be to review a plan, our plan for 26, our plan for a launch.
Okay.
And it's the same length, whether you're writing the plan for the entire AWS business at global level is also a 6-pager.
Okay.
Because and it's hard to convey, a plan in that sort of, it's harder to be concise than to, write a 400-page tome.
Yeah, no one's going to read.
Yeah, but, so we spend a lot of time, and I think it's a very good mechanism. It's a very inclusive mechanism. But, if you do a review with an employee and you give feedback and you see how they take that feedback, some people actually just don't listen. It's like, man, I wrote this thing. I hear someone telling me stuff, but then they come back again and it's the same. They haven't really it doesn't mean that I'm right, just to be clear. But what I'm looking for is someone who takes some of that feedback, thinks about what has been said, has pursued what is the kind of feedback that you've got, and either comes back and says, hey, Rob, I think you're wrong because here. Wow, that's awesome. Or has taken that feedback and adjusted what they do. But it shows that learning mindset where they're prepared to take the feedback, they're prepared to really think about it and, improve themselves. They're also passionate about improving. So I think I always come back to that learning mindset. Super important to me. I think it's a really critical skill for anyone. And then it's just the passion for what you do. I leap out of bed in the morning ready to go. It's, I'm trying to solve problems for the South African shopper.
Yeah.
I love bringing this amazing experience to the South African shopper and to our sellers. And, you've got to have a passion for that stuff. You've got to believe in the mission as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd imagine having like a coaching culture as well. Like, are they coachable? So that feedback loop, or like, I'm not perfect, we can do things better. Yeah. So you probably don't have the perfect job. That is true. And I say that because when you first went into the office and you saw the big Amazon, this global giant, there must have been a lot of pressure. There must have been a lot of things that you were wanting to do and a lot of plans that you had. Is there any plans that didn't happen, but you're glad that didn't happen?
You're talking about specifically South Africa?
Yeah.
I don't think there's specific things that didn't happen. I think look, this is a journey. We're very, very early in this journey.
Yeah.
Our plan is to be here for a long time, a long time. And so, and I know there's a lot of impatience on a lot of people want different aspects that they see maybe in the US or UK.
Okay.
Hey, why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? Why don't we?
Yeah.
But we're very intentional about making sure that when we do bring a feature, is it going to work for South Africa and South Africans? And what do we need to do to make sure that it really resonates and we can deliver on that promise?
Why is that important?
Look, I think it's actually interesting because, I find it interesting. Right at the get-go, we set this slogan. We want to be relentlessly day one. So, day one startup culture focused on the customer, really adopt a lot of the Amazon leadership principles.
Yeah.
So we want to be relentlessly day one, but authentically South African.
And day one for people who don't know.
Well, there's a shareholder letter, I think it goes back to, I think it was about 98, that Jeff Bezos wrote. And I think one of his biggest concerns was that as a company grows to, a big company, it's very easy for process and internal structures to get in the way of serving a customer.
Yeah.
And it was really to make a point of, we need to operate like we've only just started. We're a startup organization. And we've done that in South Africa. We do that in many parts of the world.
Yeah.
But it's being day one means that you remove a lot of that separation between you and your customer. Getting out and delivering, like you mentioned, getting into the call center. That's, looking at what our customers are saying. I'm a shopper on Amazon. I shop all the time, and hey, why did this didn't make sense, or this didn't work, or, and giving that feedback to the team. It's not what I want. And, so day one is being close to customer, operating like a startup is really the summary. But I think going back to the authentically South African, we're lucky that we've got a lot of that learning, when we have access to a lot of the learning that comes from India, that comes from Brazil, that comes from obviously the US and UK, Australia, but all over the world. We're in 23 different countries. But we've also got a lot of latitude to do stuff that is good for our South African customer. And I mean, we have a very different way of gift wrapping, unique to South Africa. The Seller Success Center in Cape Town is unique to, there's no other place in the world that we have a Seller Success Center. I think also and it's a very subtle thing. When I first saw, I'll tell you the story. I mean, when I first saw the mock-up of, hey, this is what we're going to launch, and some of the icons, and there was a European team that at that stage had been building that before I was able to hire some local team. But you could very quickly see that this South Africans are not going to feel the South Africanness of the store. And we've gone out of our way to hire a broad South African team. Yeah. We're just about all South African.
Okay.
And part of what that brings is, people who represent all sorts of different backgrounds, cultures, locations of the, areas of the company, of the country, and can bring that experience and that nuance. And again, it's a very, very subtle thing to get right.
Yeah.
But we want our customer to feel, so at home in this experience, this emotional attachment to the store, and go like, wow, Amazon really gets me. I feel that I love this place because it's the right selection. Man, the prices are great. And the experience, just being in this, they get me as a customer. And no matter who you are and where you live in the country. And that's hard to do, but we work very hard to do that right.
I think you said once that your big goal is to make Amazon the most loved company or brand, or...
We just want to be the most loved store in South Africa.
Yeah, the most loved store. And so what does that look like? How is that driving decisions?
I think it goes back to that earning the trust of our customer. And, I think customers are learning very rapidly. Yeah. And we've seen this in Q4 by the crazy, performance that we had in Q4. But customers love the prices that they get. So they're learning, wow, I love the store because it's got great prices, great value for money. I love the store because the experience is good. I can find what I'm looking for. If something goes wrong, I can pick up the phone any time of the day, 24/7 customer support. I'm talking to a South African on the other end of the line, and they can help me with whatever the challenge is. I can do returns very easily if I need to do a return. Yeah. And all of those things go toward building this trust and this, hey, Amazon gets me. Yeah. Because those are pretty fundamental. No matter where you are in the world, whether you're in India, Brazil, or South Africa, hey, I want to be able to find whatever I need. Yeah. I want to get great value for money, and I want a great shopping experience. If you can do those three right, customers will love our store.
So your plan was to do well.
Yeah.
You shot the lights out.
Yeah.
What did you underestimate, and how much of an impact does it make now on the future growth projections? Is there more pressure to grow quicker?
We had a great Q4 as I expected, and we forecasted for a high volume, and you do a lot of preparation. I think we had to work even harder. I mean, long shifts, activating sort of plan B, C, all that kind of thing to make sure we can deliver given the high volumes of product that we were shifting.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great problem to have. And we managed to maintain that customer promise, the good delivery, the good prices, the availability, etc.
Yeah.
I think that's, it's good because it just helps us to know what to expect going into 26 and what we've got to do.
I know Cape Town was jam-packed, so I was feeling sorry for anyone delivering anything over December or November. It was busy, right? I mean, so that must have been an added challenge, like so many people as well. And
I think but I think let's don't focus just on the big centers. What is very encouraging for me is if you look at a heat map of South Africa, this is for all South Africans. We deliver everywhere.
Yeah.
And we're here for all 62 million South Africans. So if you look at that heat map, it's incredible to see where we're actually putting product. Rural Eastern Cape, rural KwaZulu-Natal, Komati, Beitbridge, Port Nolloth, everywhere across the country.
Yeah.
People are finding value in this. And I think especially if you're in one of these areas, they don't always have access to that broad selection, the great value for money and the convenience.
Yeah.
And so it's really resonating with them. But it does present logistical challenges.
But once you get it right. I think you said someone asked you, how do you afford it when you give like a piece of toothpaste to someone and I think you flippantly said, but maybe we're going to their neighbor. And then I was thinking, no, their neighbor is going to also order because they're going to see someone else ordering it. Is that intentional? I mean,
look, we've got a lot of experience at doing this over many decades. And I think there's a lot of understanding the model and how we can really make this work. But I think there's also a lot in terms of how do we do things super effectively? And we're continually obsessing about improving a process, a mechanism, the way we do things, so we can pass that value on to our customers.
Yeah.
But that's part of the Amazon secret sauce,
So all these secret sources we want to know about it. And I mean, obviously, access to markets is a big challenge for entrepreneurs in South Africa, and access to capital is also a big concern. Mm-hmm. How do you see Amazon playing a role in either of those?
Huge focus for us, and it's a personal passion of mine as well. I've seen in the other countries, in the US, UK, UAE, Saudi, all over the world, where the number of small businesses that are selling on the Amazon store. And there's some really inspiring stories. People who got laid off from a job and started a hot sauce company, or they've always had this idea for a product.
Hot sauce is big on Amazon, obviously.
It is, it's the everything store. You can hot sauce and anything else you want. But I think just being able to, hey, I've got this great idea.
Yeah.
It's really, really easy to be able to create some good product, get it into our ship fulfillment centers. And then again, you can continue to focus on making a great product. And for a small fee, we will take care of the rest. The picking, packing, shipping, taking a payment and all that. So while you are making that product, or while you're working on making the product better, ching, there goes another order, and it's getting to your customer same day. It's getting to your customer, in no matter where you are in the country. And so instead of just having access to a small customer base around your town, now you've got access to the entire South Africa. And that's powerful. But here's the kicker, Ralph. I think if you can prove yourself successful in South Africa, there's no reason why, because it's the same sort of structure. It's a very similar kind of way of telling the story, and you've learned how to sell on Amazon. Go and list in Saudi, go and list in UAE or in the US or UK or Germany or Australia or anything else. And we've got a number of sellers, South African brands,
Really?
South African companies who are doing great business in the US and the UK and Germany and a number of other countries around the world. And my dream, and I mean our dream, is that we can have, thousands of successful sellers in South Africa, but thousands of successful sellers who are generating export income and selling great products, great brands around the world. And I'll add one final sort of thing. You can see this is a passion for me.
Yeah.
I say to the team always, there is no reason why the next mega brand of the world shouldn't come from South Africa.
Quite inspiring.
Why not? There's no reason. And I think very often there's this, we've got, the world is hungry for new, give me something that's different, give me something that's cool, give me something that is, and I think we've got a lot of great ideas, a lot of great entrepreneurs. Let's unlock that stuff and let's go and make that next mega brand a South African brand.
Yeah, no, it's inspiring. I mean, I think there's two parts. One is, maybe I was excited when I heard that you were coming to South Africa, because I thought, there's people investing in South Africa. So does that mean in terms of our tech community, we're going to get more VC funding? And I think for Africa, it's about 700 million a year versus the States, which is about 80 billion, I think, a quarter. So 700 million versus 80 billion.
Yeah.
So we're never going to grow if we're waiting for VC funding. Is it the customer funding that is the thing that we need to be looking at? Is it like you're saying, getting these access to these markets and selling to more customers to fund our businesses? Is that more of that? I
think that's part of it. I think obviously there are a lot of entrepreneurs who, it's tough. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. But I think more and more we've got to create that culture of entrepreneurialism and that support for entrepreneurs. And I think if you get out there and you have a look, you'll be amazed at how much support is actually out there. There are a lot of VCs, private equity, a lot of banks have, divisions that are focused on helping emerging entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
The government through small business is, the Ministry on Small Business is very committed to providing funding and help and support and, how do we help these businesses to grow? And so there are lots of different pockets that you can tap into. And part of what we're trying to do is bring this community together, working with the ministry, working with these VCs, working with these banks, but, just in an informal way. It's that networking and that little spark of an idea and, for an entrepreneur to be able to rub shoulders with some banker or some VC or whatever. And I think that's our job as larger organizations in the country is let's provide those facilities. It doesn't matter who you are. And it doesn't matter the level of, how far you are in your business idea, but let's create those forums for that networking and that sort of the energy to come from those events.
I mean, there's a certain, we spoke about it earlier. There's a certain narrative about entrepreneurship and failure in certainly South Africa. I don't know about the rest of Africa so much. And I mean, you're talking around, there's hero badges for how many startups people have created. And the feeling is the next one's going to be the likelihood of success, which does sound pretty logical. And we've got this fixation, it feels, that failure is not an option.
Yeah, I think built into our culture, we're lucky as a company, Amazon, we're not scared of failure. And I think if you look at, even Bezos has said, publicly, has given examples of big mistakes that we've made. Maybe not mistakes, but these are things that haven't worked out.
Yeah.
And where, the Fire Phone was his big example. And he laughed and he said, hey, if you think that was a failure, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to be comfortable with things. Not everything works, but as long as you're learning in that process,
Yeah.
the amount of learning that comes from that project, on devices, and taking some of that learning that can get built into like a Kindle or can get built into a different part of the business.
Yeah.
And I think for the entrepreneur, hey, most entrepreneurs don't have this magical, there are very few examples, but even Richard Branson, how many failures did he have? And, before he was successful. But as long as you sort of like, hey, why you're reflecting and learning on why didn't it work? What did I get wrong? What could I have done better? And then the next one's a little bit better and the next one's a little bit better. And, but we need to get into that kind of mentality.
Small improvements or that 1% rule, or is it?
Not even the small improvements. It's just, don't be scared of, you're going to do something with a lot of optimism, and you want to avoid mistakes. You want to avoid doing things the wrong way, and you want to mitigate that as much as you can. But there's only so much mitigation you can have.
Yeah.
But as long as you're continually listening to your customer and tweaking, and that's why as I mentioned, a lot of entrepreneurs start with one idea and end up with something completely different.
Yeah.
Is that a failure or is it not? But they're comfortable with that because they're not so wedded to the original idea. They're prepared to adjust as you go. And that's important,
I was thinking earlier about your career, but you just got me thinking now. I never thought of asking it, but have you met Bezos?
I have not.
But you've obviously heard a lot about him from other executives.
Yeah, exactly. And been in reviews with our current CEO, Jassy. And, I just love it's definitely the best organization I've ever worked for. I mean, I wouldn't have been there for 11 years if I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think it's that culture, if you walk into an office in Paris or in India or Saudi or wherever you walk in, there's this very strong culture around, our leadership principles, our peculiarities as to how we do things.
I like that.
Which is, it's amazing that, we can build that kind of culture that is so obsessed with customer.
Yeah. Most people probably read the books about the pizza, meeting for a pizza and then, not more than 2 pizza boxes in there.
And that's part of that day one culture. I think the 2 pizza team. It's
extra chair.
Yeah, that's an amazing. I did that when we arrived in South Africa. But it's like having, for those who don't know it, we'll sit in a meeting, we'll review a paper, and we'll very often have a chair that is dedicated to a customer. And you turn to the team and you say, like, hey guys, if our customer was sitting here, we may be high-fiving that this is a great idea. What would our customers say about this idea? And again, it just brings very tangibly customer into the room in our discussions and taking that into account in the decisions that we're making. And
do you think it has changed it? Like if you do, because we've done it. We looked at what you did, and then I'm like, I can feel a sense that my mind is shifting to this because I'm now. It's like we say you want the customer to go first, but having that physical chair there does make a difference.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, we talk about some of our peculiarities as an organization, and these are some of the mechanisms or the artifacts of a culture.
Yeah.
And I think, it has been fascinating for me building a culture in South Africa, but it's through a lot of those artifacts, the 6 pages or the documents, the talking about how we build mechanisms. We talk about mechanisms, the leadership principles, but building that deeply into the culture. So, our leadership principles are not a list. You can't, if you walk into the office, you're not going to see them on any wall in the
Really?
company. No, not at all. You don't see them. You may see a Think Big sign somewhere, but it's because it's so deep in the culture. When we're sitting in a meeting, it'll be, hey, is that customer obsessed enough? Hey, are we balancing, bias for action, being fast about this versus diving deep and really learning and being curious about what's going on? Are we being think big enough in our plan here? Is it think big enough?
Yeah.
All of these will use this terminology, and it's consistent around the world as to how we use it. But it's again, it's not something on a wall or something we put in a drawer and salute occasionally.
Yeah.
It's something it's an artifact that is deep in the culture.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about your success with your launch now. And I mean, certainly executives overseas must be asking you, what did you do differently to what we've done before? Or are there learnings from South Africa? I think I'm intrigued with, we often look overseas for success, but there's so many successes here and so many great talented organizations.
Yeah. Look, we're lucky to work in an organization where, again, we're in a lot of countries, and there's going back to the experiments, where we can do a lot of these experiments, and we try and share. I don't want to go and do an experiment without looking at the learnings of a similar experiment somewhere else, because I think that would be crazy.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think there are, even just probably the best example is just how we build the team here. I think a lot of people have been very impressed with the quality of team that we've hired in the country, the innovative ideas that are coming out, the adoption of some of our leadership principles, the peculiarities of how we do things. So yeah, but
is that, do you think, often I see South Africans go overseas, they're very successful. And I think, is it the success was here waiting to happen and it needed the right culture? Or do you think you're just very good at choosing the right people?
It's probably a combination of both. I mean, we do have a pretty rigorous hiring process of finding great talent. But, South Africa's got amazing talent. Some of the young people coming out of, various different institutions, it's amazing to see just how smart, how motivated, and how passionate they are.
Yeah.
But I think it's providing that fertile ground, to be able to experiment. And one of our leadership principles is backbone. Have backbone, disagree, and commit.
Okay.
And I think we really encourage team members to, and for some people who've been in sort of South African business culture, sometimes that's not rewarded. We go out of our way to reward.
Okay.
If you think it's wrong, say it. You're not going to get smacked for saying it. If anything, we're going to hold on. Why? Maybe you got a point. Let's look at it.
Okay.
And one of our other leadership principles, the payoff line in it's seek to disconfirm your beliefs.
Okay.
And so as a leader, coming into those meetings, I think having this approach of I'm actively going out of my way in those meetings to prove myself wrong.
Okay.
So if you come in there, hey, I know exactly how this should happen. I've been at Amazon for 11 years. I know what to do. You can really miss some real gold underneath the surface. And so listening very carefully to the team, listening to, it doesn't matter what your level is.
Yeah.
But if you're a more junior person and it's like, hey, our customers are going to hate this thing. I know, Rob, you think it's an awesome idea, but I know our customers are going to hate it because of blah, blah, blah. Isn't it great that we've got a team member that's prepared to say that?
Yeah.
And I think we need, as a South African, maybe a little bit less hierarchical and, but we were a very flat organization. We're open to that feedback. And I think we need to create that kind of fertile ground where people can have their say and not adapt necessarily to a structure, but be set free to innovate and grow and develop within a very fertile environment.
Do you think, Rob, it's like you get in the call center, you're delivering. Do you think your flat structure is around your actions? Is that you're not in your office away, but you're in amongst and close enough? Is it part of the culture that's leading to the flatness?
Yeah, I think it's very much so. We try to make sure that there are as few layers between, senior leadership and, our customer.
Yeah.
And, also jumping layers. And we're not worried about that. There may be, you don't have to go to your manager and so on up the hierarchy to get to make your point to me.
Yeah.
Just say it. If I'm walking around the floor and, hey, what are you up to? Gee, what are you building? What is, oh boy, that doesn't look right. Let's have the debate together.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it, but I think that's inherent in the Amazon day one culture.
Yeah.
Really trying to focus on the customer, and very often the person close to the customer has that knowledge that I need to make decisions, and will disconfirm my beliefs. So I want to get to that person.
Yeah.
Not have it filtered before it gets to me.
I mean, I've read a lot recently, and a lot of CEOs saying that their main job, especially entrepreneurs, is to recruit the right people, the right talent.
Yeah.
And I think there's those three things that I mentioned earlier. There's the challenges for entrepreneurs. There's access to capital, access to markets, and access to talent. Amazon, the name, comes with a strong brand already. So you're going to naturally attain the right sort of talent. What about other organizations who are looking to get talent? What advice would you have for them?
Look, in my opinion, I think people in a workplace, people want to do things that they understand the why behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
People want to work on big projects. And I think what attracts people to Amazon, the ones who really thrive in the environment, they're inspired by the mission that we're on, understanding that we want to create the most loved store in South Africa. And we had another payoff line, work hard, have fun, make history. And it's that make history component of, this amazing store, this loved store will outlive all of us that are in the team today.
Yeah.
But and I think for an entrepreneur, if you can really inspire people, okay, maybe they don't get as much money on the monthly basis as they would love. Maybe they're not, the office is, I'm working on a door or on the floor or whatever it is. That's fine. But I'm inspired by the dream of where we're going and the why of what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's, to me, is more critical to attract talent.
When you came back to South Africa 3 years ago, is there anything that surprised you when you came back that you thought, I did not expect this?
Look, I've been very close I'm a passionate South African with a lot of family still in the country, extended and close family in the country. And my wife and I are both South Africans. So we've maintained that strong linkage back to the country.
Yeah.
So maybe not that surprising, but I think coming back into the workspace, certainly love the fact that we've got such great talent in the country, and the emerging talent that is coming out of these institutions, as I mentioned.
Did it surprise you?
Yeah, I think it did. Just some really world-class talent that can hold their own with anywhere. I think the other piece is with the entrepreneurs. We've launched Shop Mzansi, which is within the Amazon store, just a section within our store. And that is a collection or a showcase for South African brands, South African manufactured product. And it's been very, very encouraging to see how many cool entrepreneurs are out there making amazing products, products that resonate internationally.
Yeah.
And again, just being able to tap into that, I'm excited about that. Really excited.
I think we're always surprised when we had the awards last year. Some of these winners are just incredible. The stories that everybody's like 800 people in the room and they're top executives and they're looking at each other going, wow, we have got some amazing companies coming through.
For sure. And that's what I think, I think it's incumbent on South Africans as a whole to celebrate the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's hard to be an entrepreneur, but it's a heroic pursuit.
Yeah.
And I think that old-fashioned way of to be a success, you've got to qualify in one of the professions and only that is success. I think we should put being a small business owner, creating this like startup that goes on to employ several people, has an impact in your local community, that's heroic.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to really go out of our way as a nation to celebrate the entrepreneur and do what we can to help provide again, that fertile environment where they can flourish, because it'll be a great job creator. It'll be a great driver of growth in the economy and the export income and the international sort of growth.
Yeah, I thought about it right as you were saying it, but I think it's also a culture thing. It's like you got something positive to look at when you're in a desperate situation. You got local people doing amazing things, and so that's inspirational as well. And changing a culture in terms of these different things you can do instead of crime, like go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and I think it's, building, I think we've got to look at how we build that kind of entrepreneurial sort of spirit across South Africa. If you go to, I spent a long time in San Francisco, and fortunately, they do have a lot of access to great venture capital. There's a lot of angel funds and all that. But we've got that in South Africa. We've got some great venture capital, great banks that are doing things to support entrepreneurs. We've got angel funds. We work with a number of them. But there's an amazing amount of support in these cities and from, the ministry and all that. It's just go and seek that out and go and drive that, go and use it.
How can other corporates in South Africa learn from what Amazon is doing? Or what can they do better at or more of, do you think, to help this entrepreneurial culture spirit?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one magical thing. I think it depends on the company. But like for the banks, creating mechanisms that help drive some of that mentorship and coaching and, help provide some of the tools, help provide some of that low risk, funding. And then I think, so each company is going to provide different things. But I think it's also about providing that networking. Because as an entrepreneur, if you are starting out, you're new to this thing, the best thing that we can help them with is the connections. I mean, we actually we're lucky to have, a fairly large facility with...
Looks beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, and what we try to do is we take young professionals, early stage in their jobs. We take, sometimes it's a trade delegation that's come in internationally, from a specific city or whatever it is. Some of them are going to be fintechs. Some of them are going to be, trying to create a brand, so radically different sort of stages of what they're doing. But I'm a strong believer that it just takes one little spark of a connection where you come from a London looking for cool product. Wow, you love my product, and now I've got a connection that I can go and do something different. Or, there's a young professional who works for an auditing firm or a bank or something. Hey, did you know we've got this program that helps guys like you? And it's those kind of forums that I think we need to... It's amazing how getting people together like that and the mashup that happens, it's exciting.
So you were a delivery boy when you were younger. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. At 11 years old. When I was 15, my dad said to me, go out and get a job and don't come home until you got one. And I did. And it didn't do anything wrong to me. So are you seeing young people working in that sort of way? Do you think it should be encouraged?
I think it spans a broad spectrum. I think there's definitely an aspect, and we've got some great examples in Shop Mzansi. People who've started cosmetics firms, people who've started, making leather bags, leather belts, and there's some tech-ish type of products as well, water purifiers and all sorts of, coffee cleaning things and what have you. So there's definitely that. It's out there. Yeah. But I think we need a whole lot more of it. There are a lot of people who are unfortunately despondent about where they are at. Yeah. But we have to, and we work with, I've recently started working with Junior Achievement, which is an organization that is focused on, entry into the workplace, entry as an entrepreneur, and how can we build the skills. Yeah. And Amazon actually has a skills center where it's the first one that we've done outside of the US, but downtown Cape Town, where you can go and learn AI fundamentals, cloud fundamentals, and you can even go on to do an AWS associate certification. Yeah. And that's all free of charge. So it's there, but people have to You got to do the hard work. Nothing will come for, no one's going to give you the way to do it. If you want to be a small business, it's hard work. If you look at the entrepreneurs in whether it's San Francisco or here, it's long nights, it's weekends, it's hard graft to get this thing going. So if you're under a disillusion that it's just going to magically happen, it doesn't. It's hard work. But the structures are there to support you if you have that passion and that desire to be successful.
How do we take more horses to the water? Because you've got the structure, you've got the access to markets, you've got the learning, you've got the skills capabilities. It's going to take hard work, but how do we get more people on this journey? Because a lot of people are saying, I can't, I don't know. Or
yeah, I think, what people are looking for is examples. Tell me who can I look up to? Someone who has the same sort of background as me, someone who is in the same circumstance as me. What did they do to build their business? And I think it's those inspiring stories. And it doesn't have to be this mega business that is a fintech and, high tech and all these kind of things. Even if it's just a small business, hey, how did you do that? What did you have to do? Where did you get your funding? How did you get started? I'm sitting here, I don't have any money. I don't have any, how the hell do I get started? And I think again, I know, like, even in the Western Cape, there are taxi voucher schemes where you can get, they'll help you to come in and, to be able to do job interviews, to get to the skills center, to go and skill up in a certain area. But it's like tapping into some of those things.
Yeah.
But let's give tons of examples that people can relate to of how did they do it, and that it's people like me that did it. You know?
I think one of the things that captured me with you coming here, it is almost like a masterclass from someone that most people won't be able to get to. You're that mentor, luckily, that they're listening to for an hour. But I mean, what benefit did you get from mentors, and how did you get your own mentors, and how can other people find mentors that's going to inspire them?
Yeah, I think it's, I love mentoring people. I love coaching. I love, unfortunately, I don't have enough time to spend on this.
That's why these are important, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's like sometimes one too many kind of forums.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, it's like throughout my career, and especially at Amazon, it's amazing how willing people are to help if you ask. And I think sometimes it can be very daunting and very sort of, but if you go to some function, you're at a show, you're at, whether Africa Tech or wherever it is, but you're networking there. It's, probably 1 in 10 people are going to, maybe brush you off. But if you can just get that one person who says like, okay, let's grab a coffee.
Yeah.
How can I help? But be specific. I mean, my suggestion to people is come with 4 questions, because very often I get these outreaches like inside Amazon and it's like, hey, tell me, how do I be more successful? It's very hard to interact with that. Whereas if you say like, hey, I read this about your company. I went through this and this, this, and this, and I've got a specific question. This is the piece that I'm struggling with. Can you give me some advice around this?
Yeah.
Or I'm really having a crisis of confidence around this. Any suggestions as to what I could do? And I think if you go with that approach, and you may think your questions are silly or whatever it is, they're not. Yeah. Go to those big, whoever you run into in these shows or online or in these discussion forums or whatever, but ask great questions. Strive to ask great questions is my advice.
And I agree with you, because I think great questions are important. Is there a rule for great questions? Because I think,
one of, and maybe this is giving out some of the
secret.
When I interview people, one of the biggest turnoffs is I always leave at least, usually 15 minutes at the end of an interview to say like, hey, what questions have you got?
I was going to get to that.
And so often people actually will say, no, I'm done. And it's like, wow, you got 15 minutes of my time and I'm offering for you to, hey, what does success look like? What is, any kind of question, but it's like, show that you've actually researched the company.
Yeah.
Hey, I was just looking at an article that you guys put out, or gee, I was listening to this podcast you did with Ralph, yesterday, and this thing was important. Can you tell me a bit more about this or that or whatever? So it's picking up on those things and being ready, come with great questions and you'll be amazed at the kind of response that you get. Yeah. There's no perfect question, but it's just like show that you've done your research, you've done to show up in an interview.
Yeah.
And I very often ask the question of, hey, tell me a bit about, like when I was at AWS, I used to always ask, what's AWS service do you think is going to be the most impactful for our customers over the next 2 to 3 years? And the number of people who, I don't even know what an Amazon service, an AWS service is. That's not a good way to show up. You've got to do your research. You understand what's going on. You've got to put in the hard effort and the hard work to have great questions.
Yeah. I mean, before I get to what question haven't I asked you, so I'll leave you with that for a second.
Wow, that's very Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah. What I wanted to know was my neighbor worked for Amazon for many years, and he started 25 years ago. I think it's one of the first 3 employees for AWS.
Wow.
Yeah, Atle Jorgensen. So he's now head of innovation for Sunlam.
Yeah.
And he was with you for a very long, long time. And I was excited when Amazon launched, but actually you've been here for a long, long time and you've invested a lot of money. What is it that Amazon's seeing in South Africa? Is it the rest of Africa? What are they seeing?
You're right. We have been here a long time, more than 20 years in the country. So we got deep roots. We're a very South African company with deep roots in the country. I believe it's something close to, 50 billion rand that has been invested into the country over the last 10 years. And we continue to do that investment. So we're excited about the opportunity and we're excited about what we see. But I think it is, I think back when AWS set up here to develop EC2, great talent, some really, really good developers. And we've built on that basis. But I think the big interest is Africa. We've got a store in Egypt.
Yeah.
We've now got a store in South Africa. But there are over 1.2 billion people on this continent who I'd love them to experience the amazing convenience, the amazing selection, the amazing pricing that comes from an Amazon.
Yeah.
And, no matter where you live in the continent. And I think that's exciting. There's a big opportunity there. And I think it's a fast growing continent. So, yeah, it is attractive.
Yeah. I mean, how do you see it different to other people? Because I think most people see the challenges with Africa.
We operate in a number of different countries and there are challenges in every single country. Each one is slightly different. You got to, but you got to work within those and, be smart about it. South Africans are good at marketplan. So, make a plan and let's get going and just get on with it.
Rob, it was amazing to have you on this podcast. Thank you very, very much. And we're wishing you much luck with your growth.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a fun discussion. And we're very excited about 2026. Watch this space. There's some really cool things coming from Amazon.co.za in 2026.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ralph.